There's one Charlotte neighborhood where $500,000 can still get you a fourth bedroom about 30 minutes from uptown, and almost no one searches for it by name. I've been working in this market for many years, and today I'm breaking down that neighborhood along with 5 others so that you can see exactly what $500,000 buys across Charlotte. These numbers come from actual transactions that I've completed, not just a general market report. So let's get into it. Where $500,000 stands in Charlotte, that hidden neighborhood is the perfect example of why $500,000 can look so different depending on where you spend it. So first, let's put that number into context. Charlotte's overall median sales price is sitting in the mid 400,000s right now, somewhere around $425,000 to $450,000. You may hear a few different Charlotte median prices depending on where someone's looking at the full region, the city of Charlotte or Mecklenburg County. They're measuring different areas, so those numbers can all be right at the same time. Compared with that middle price, a $500,000 budget puts you around 15 to 20% above the average home in this market. That gives you strong buying power here. It isn't luxury money, but it opens up solid options in a city that keeps adding new residents. Some buyers come in expecting an above average budget to mean more house in every neighborhood, but Charlotte doesn't work that way. The city is spread out, it's growing quickly, and it's filled with neighborhoods that price space, location, and convenience differently. I want to make that clear before you book a single showing. And coming up, there's one walkable pocket where the idea that more money should buy more space falls apart. More on that in a bit. Now, Charlotte's one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country, and that growth puts more pressure on certain neighborhoods than others. That's why the same budget can turn into 6 different homes depending on where you choose to spend it. The market has also become more balanced than it was during the busiest years. Inventory has grown, rates are still in the mid-6s, and buyers have a little bit more room to work through price and terms. Homes that are priced well absolutely still move quickly, but you have a little bit more space to think through the decision. The type of home matters just as much as the location. A 4-bedroom house on a quarter-acre lot and a 2-bedroom condo above a coffee shop can sell for the same price, even though the daily life that comes with each one feels different. So that's the bigger picture here. The same $500,000 budget can create 6 different versions of life in Charlotte. Let's start with the neighborhood where it stretches the furthest. Steel Creek, the most house for the most amount of money. Think about a 2-car garage, a neighborhood pool just a short walk from your backyard, and a bonus room upstairs that no one's claimed yet. That's a pretty normal setup in Steel Creek. It's one of Southwest Charlotte's more established suburbs. Much of it is newer construction, and the easy access to 485 is one reason that your budget can stretch a little bit further here. At $500,000, you can target a 4-bedroom home with somewhere in the low to mid 2000s in square footage, plus a flat lot and a real backyard. You're also getting the newer suburban package that comes with many of these communities. Think walking trails, open concept kitchens, and neighborhood amenities that still feel fresh. The median price in Steel Creek sits closer to the mid 400,000s, so this is one of the places where your $500,000 budget goes the furthest on this list. However, I will say the cleanest and most updated 4-bedroom homes can land a little bit above $500K. Staying within budget may mean negotiating on price or being flexible with finishes. The trade-off here is character for space. You'll see some of the same builder floor plans repeated from street to street, so this won't be the right fit if you want a home with more character. But what you do get is consistency, and you have a good idea of what the home and neighborhood will feel like before you even get there. And a little bit later, I'll show you what the same budget looks like in a lake town further north. Stay tuned. Now, location is the other part of this decision. Steel Creek sits southwest of the city near the airport area. The drive into uptown can take around 30 minutes when traffic is moving well, and quite a bit longer when it isn't. This area can work well if you travel often or if you don't need to commute into uptown 5 days a week. If square footage matters more to you than older home character, Steel Creek is a great place to start. Buyers who want a street where every house feels different may be happier in one of the areas coming next. And before we move on, if you're relocating to Charlotte and you're trying to match your daily life to the right area and budget, I'm here to guide you through it, neighborhood by neighborhood. My contact information is in the description whenever you're ready. Now, let's see what happens when that same $500,000 budget moves into a more established part of Charlotte. Matthews, updated and move-in ready. A normal Saturday in Matthews starts at the farmers market, moves into lunch downtown, and you never have to get back in the car. This part of Charlotte used to feel much more rural, and you can still see that in the mature trees and the older, settled neighborhoods. Downtown Matthews has grown into a place that people plan their weekend around, not just somewhere where they pass on the way through. At $500K, the sweet spot is an updated 3-bedroom home with 2.5, maybe 3 bathrooms, usually somewhere between 1,700 to 2,000 square feet. The lots here are often at least 1/5 of an acre and sometimes a little bit bigger, which gives you a real backyard with room for a swing set, a garden, or a dog that needs space to run. A 4-bedroom home is still possible at this price, but I just want to set the right expectation. The fully updated move-in ready version of a 4-bedroom home here gets harder to find around $500K, so you'll be looking at a fixer-upper with 4 bedrooms in this price point. And the median price here sits in the high $480,000s. So that trade-off gets even more interesting when we reach the neighborhood that's changing its reputation right now. We'll get there shortly. Now, this is the former teacher in me, but I always want to talk about schools before moving on. Assignments can change from one street to the next, so check the exact school tied to the exact house before you fall in love with a neighborhood based on its name. For the commute, plan on 25 to 30 minutes into uptown without traffic and around 20 to 25 minutes to SouthPark. Independence Boulevard is the road that can change that drive during rush hour, so I always recommend testing it around 8 in the morning before you can count on it long term. Matthews works well for the buyer who wants a home that already feels settled in a town with its own center instead of a neighborhood built around highway access. Okay, on to the next neighborhood, closer to the city. South End, or Wilmore, walkability over square footage. In South End, $500,000 is buying a location where you can step outside and already be in the middle of your day. It started as an industrial zone along South Boulevard, and today it's one of Charlotte's main live work and play areas with direct access to the Lynx Blue Line and the rail trail running right through it. Think restaurants, breweries, and shops. They all sit within an easy walk of each other. On a weekend morning, you could stop by Triple C, head over to Suffolk Punch, or walk to Sycamore inside the line, all without going far from home. At this budget, the typical option is a 2-bedroom condo or townhome with around 1,000 to 1,300 square feet. You can find 3 bedrooms too, but those homes are more likely to be older or less updated. Most South End condos land in the high $400,000s, so a $500,000 budget puts you closer to the newer and more updated end of the market. Some of these homes are technically in Wilmore, a quieter historic pocket right next to South End. It has bungalows, curved streets, and a more residential feel than the busier region nearby. One recent closing gives you a clear picture. I helped a client find a fully updated 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom condo with just under 1,100 square feet, and it closed for $486,000. It was also within walking distance of the heart of South End, so that's a fair example of what this budget buys right now. And the neighborhood almost nobody asks about is still coming. It has a 4th bedroom closer to the city than most buyers expect. Now, the trade here is less space for a home that's easier to manage and puts your weekend right outside the front door. You could walk, bike, or take the train without using your car. So let's head north where that same $500K starts buying something different. Huntersville, newer suburban near the lake. There's a version of Charlotte's suburb life that comes with its own weekend plan, and it has almost nothing to do with the house. Birkdale Village is the center of life in Huntersville. It's a walkable mix of shops and restaurants with concerts and seasonal events bringing people out most weekends. Lake Norman is also close enough, even if your home isn't on the water. Think boat days, dinner by the lake, and full weekends. The median price here is in the high $500,000s, so you can get a townhome or a condo for less than that. And most of these homes were built from the late 1990s through the newer suburban years. You can find 4 bedrooms at this price too, but they're less common. The fully updated version may also land above this budget, so it helps to stay flexible on finishes. Huntersville covers several different school assignments, and this is where my old teacher habit comes back again. You need to check the exact school tied to the exact address instead of assuming every home in Huntersville feeds into the same schools, because the zones actually vary a lot up here. The biggest trade-off here is Highway 77. On a good morning, uptown can be around 20 minutes away, but during the evening commute, that same drive can take much longer, like pretty much double the time. So pay close attention to which direction you'll be traveling most often. The 77 express lanes can make the drive easier for a fee, and carpoolers may also use them for free with the right transponder setup. Lake Norman is usually around 15 to 25 minutes away, depending on where you live in Huntersville and which part of the lake you're headed to. That's close enough for it to become part of your regular life instead of something that you only visit once in a while. Huntersville gives you the suburban home, weekends at Birkdale, and the lake nearby. Highway 77 is part of the package that you just can't change. Now, this next stop makes the same $500K feel like a different budget. Valentine, the prestige feel pick. Valentine was known for golf shirts, corporate offices, and empty parking lots after 6. But that's not the full story anymore. It's a master-planned community in far South Charlotte built around a major corporate park. Now, the area is working to become somewhere that people stay after work instead of a place that they only drive in and out of. Over the past few years, new development has brought in restaurants, a brewery, parks, and an amphitheater, with more still on the way. Wegmans is set to open this fall, which is another sign that Ballantyne is still growing into itself. At $500,000, the most realistic option is a 3-bedroom townhome, patio home, or smaller detached house, usually priced in the mid to high 400,000s. A 4-bedroom detached home in the 500s used to be easier to find here, but today it's more of an exception. So most buyers have to be flexible on size or on whether the home is attached. One detail worth clearing up is the hotel and spa. The Ballantyne is a Marriott Luxury Collection property, and it's separate from Ballantyne Country Club. They sit close to each other, but they're not actually part of the same amenity package. School assignments in this part of South Charlotte depend on the exact address, so always check the home itself instead of assuming based on the Ballantyne name. For the commute, plan on around 30 minutes into Uptown on a normal morning, or closer to 20 minutes if you're headed to SouthPark. Traffic on 485 and the nearby roads can change both of those quickly. Ballantyne tends to work best for people who work from home, work nearby, or commute to SouthPark instead of Uptown every day. This is for the buyer who wants the Ballantyne name and a polished weekend, even though $500K buys less space here than it used to. And heading to the final stop, it changes everything that you would expect about price and location. Sardis Woods and Sardis Forest, the overlooked value. Here's the neighborhood I promised earlier. Sardis Woods and Sardis Forest are the only stops on this list where $500,000 can still get you a 4th bedroom and a central Charlotte address. These neighborhoods feel established instead of planned. You'll find mature trees, older brick and split level homes, larger rooms, and lots that feel more generous than what you'll see in newer suburbs further out. People also tend to stay here for years, which gives the streets that settled, neighbors waving kind of feel. The median price sits in the mid 400,000s, so at $500,000, a realistic target is 3 or 4 bedrooms with about 1,800 to 2,200 square feet. For a location this central, that's rare. A garage isn't guaranteed the way it might be in newer construction, though. Some homes have a carport, a driveway, or a garage that was converted into living space, so you may get the 4th bedroom without covered parking. The location is what makes this area completely stand out. You're roughly 30 minutes from Uptown, 20 to 25 from SouthPark, and much of the rest of Charlotte. That kind of access is hard to find at this price point anywhere else on the list. McAlpine Creek Greenway is nearby too, and the county has continued improving and extending it through this part of Southeast Charlotte. It's the kind of feature that people might overlook at first, and then they end up using it every weekend. You're also right here next to all the private schools, including Charlotte Latin, Providence Day, Charlotte Country Day, and Charlotte Christian. That can make a big difference for families or teachers with one of those commutes built into their daily routine. Public school assignments are separate from those private schools, so it's always good to check the exact address. Some buyers also explore CMS Magnet and school choice programs, but those require an application since a seat isn't guaranteed. For someone who works at one of those schools or needs to make that drive every day, this can be one of the smartest places to start. You get a shorter commute while keeping more of your budget focused on the house. This is where buyers who know Charlotte often find the 4th bedroom and the central location, then they stay flexible on an older kitchen or parking in the driveway. 6 neighborhoods, one $500,000 budget. Now, let's put them side by side. What $500K really gets you in Charlotte? The neighborhood that gives you the best version of $500,000 depends on what matters most to you. If your priority is getting the most house, Steel Creek and Sardis Woods are where this budget stretches the furthest. The trade that looks different in each one. Steel Creek gives you newer construction and more space. Sardis Woods gives you an older home in a more central location. If walkability matters most, South End and Wilmore are the strongest fit. You'll give up square footage, but you'll be closer to all the fun restaurants, the rail trail, and the light trail. And if you want an updated suburban home without a long project list, Matthews, Huntersville, and Ballantyne each offer a version of that. The difference comes down to the commute, the lifestyle around you, and just how much space that polished finish buys. The budget never changed once on this list. What changed was the square footage, the commute, the walkability, and the school options. That's the lesson behind all 6 neighborhoods. For me personally, I would choose the smaller home closer closer to my people over the biggest house in the furthest zip code. That's my answer though, and it won't be right for every buyer. The best place to start is by choosing your top priority before you fall in love with a neighborhood name. Maybe it's space, walkability, commute time, or a certain school path. Once that part is clear, it becomes much easier to see where your $500,000 budget belongs. A budget tells you what you can spend. It can't tell you where you'll feel your happiest living, and that's what this whole video was meant to help you figure out. Now, if you want to get a better view of Charlotte, email me at gracie.griffin@compass.com or text and call me 314-520-7165 and tell me which one of these 6 neighborhoods stood out to you. I'll send you what's currently active there. I'll help you narrow it down before you spend a weekend touring both. If all of these commute times have you wondering how bad Charlotte traffic gets, watch the video linked here. It compares Charlotte with the rest of the country and explains why the same growth causing that traffic is also part of what makes this location such a strong place to live. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.